What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to go over my top 30 games releasing in the fall of 2024. There is an outrageous amount of them. I actually capped it at 30. I had 35 written down, and that's actually even without Dead Rising, which would make it 36. So there's a lot of games. We're going to go through each one. I'll try to rapid fire this, otherwise this video will be way too long. So buckle in, and let me know in the comments, of course, the games that you are most anticipating. I guess one other disclaimer is the games that I'm about to list, high likelihood, especially as you get higher to number one or closer to number one, I'll be covering every single one of them on the channel in some way. So if any of these games pique your interest, then there'll be other content on those games on this channel. So let's go over some honorable mentions. I mentioned Dead Rising already. I also want to throw in Flintlock, Space Marine 2, 33 Immortals, Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake, and Marvel vs. Capcom, the Fighting Collection. Those are all ones that I'll probably still pick up, at least half of those, but, again, I wanted to kind of cut it off at number 30. Okay, so let's kick it off with number 30, and it's A Quiet Place, The Road Ahead. This one is fully off of potential and not really off of what we've seen. Now, we did see kind of a teaser trailer, and it looks solid. It does give me vibes, though, that it could go either way, because it's so condensed, it's so scripted in that way, and although, I mean, the idea of not making sound for like an entirety of a video game and the movie premise, I think that's really cool, but we definitely need more. This was a game that was announced very quickly, kind of just and very almost randomly, and then the time, I think it was announced, correct me if I'm wrong, last year. So this is one of those games that have had roughly less than 2 years of development time, kind of like a movie tie-in. It feels like a movie tie-in development cycle. That's not good. I mean, I would immediately say that's not good. So I definitely need to see more, hence why this is so low on the list. Okay, number 29 is Black Ops 6. That's right, it gets a little bit of love from me. It's not the highest on the list, but hey, it's on the list, which is something I can't really say about any of the other years that I've made a video like this. Look, gotta be real, it's solely because of Game Pass. This gives me an opportunity to try it out. I've never been like, COD is like the worst game of all time. I think it's the blockbuster popcorn type game that, you think of in like the summer blockbuster type movies. They're normally pretty solid. I played one a couple of years ago for the multiplayer and enjoyed it, and actually did quite well in it. I feel like I have an untapped potential there in the multiplayer space that I just never flex because I never play it. No, I am a little bit excited for it. I'll try out the story, I'll try out the multiplayer, and I gotta be real, it's literally all because of Game Pass. Okay, number 28 is Visions of Mana. Wanted to show this one some love. This is actually one of the earlier games that comes out in the fall. I think it's like second or third, and when the wave hits us, it'll be like the second or third game that comes out. The reason I guess it would be so low is just because I've never played any of the other ones. That's right, never played a single one of these games, but it's a franchise I absolutely want to get into. Love the art style, love what the game is. Like, I know what these games are, I've seen them before, I just have never invested time, to play them, but this one might be the very first one that at least I play in general, and then play day one, and then maybe I can go back and play all the others. Okay, number 27, and correct me if I pronounce this wrong, please, in the comments, Ritas. I don't know if that's how you say it, but this is that Kingdom Hearts very much lookalike game. Now, it's not exactly Kingdom Hearts, and, it's coming out, I believe, first in Japan. I think it might actually come out, like, late July, and then it comes out late September worldwide. So, and it's only in Japanese, right? So, I think someone like me, or I think a lot of people might have to wait for that worldwide release at the end of September, but the game looks good. Like, the art style looks great. I mean, when I say it's somewhat like Kingdom Hearts, they're huge fans of Kingdom Hearts, they're huge fans of Tetsuya Nomura. Honestly, that's really all you need to kind of like sell your game to me, and then you see the game and you say, yeah, I can see the similarities between like Yuzora or just Sora in general, and the characters, the fighting style, like all that stuff looks very, very similar. Is it going to be as good? I highly doubt it, but it's good to give these games, or at least for me, it's good to give these games a try, and I absolutely will. Okay, number 26 is Stalker 2, another one that, not super high, I guess not super low. It's a game that's always looked solid. I've heard solid things about it in the previews when people were able to play it, over the last couple of weeks. It's never like blown me away. Obviously, the studio has faced a lot of trouble in terms of making it, in terms of like, where they were even located. I feel bad for them, and it's honestly, it really is like a miracle that the game is even coming out. So I'm giving the game a try again just because it's on Game Pass. It is a good, kind of excuse to try it out. It's the first Stalker game I'll ever have played, so that's another one, but the game has always looked good. So, I'm happy with what I've seen so far, and again, in terms of games that are coming out early, it has competition. I think it comes out the same day as Astro, which is a big problem, but does come out early in this fall period. Okay, number 25 is Lollipop Chainsaw Repop, the really very limited, I would say, remaster of the base game. Now, at the end of the day, where I come from, when it comes to Lollipop Chainsaw, I like the first game. I played it during like my renting phase where I would go to the family videos, or maybe it was Blockbuster at the time, but probably not. And, just rent games all the time. And this is a game that's so expensive nowadays. If you want it, you're paying 50, 60, 70 bucks for it physically. I look at this, even though the remaster, which is what this game is, it's at the lowest end of what a remaster is. Okay, they're putting, I think, the least effort possible, but at the same time, seems like they're very much respecting the original, premise, original vision, and changing very little. At the same time, it's like, okay, well, what added value do you bring? I can look at it because of a situation with Lollipop. I will look at it simply from a game preservationist thing, where the original game is trapped, the original game is very expensive, and if you want to play it, it's kind of hard to get. So this is, beyond anything else, beyond even the quality of what they're doing here, it's at least re-releasing the game to modern audiences, but it's giving us another chance to be able to play this game. And I think this game is actually really solid. I liked it quite a bit. It was always very divided. Like, it got like 70s in terms of reviews, and some people flat out hated it, but I actually liked it quite a bit. Okay, number 24, and this one's an interesting one, Batman Arkham Shadow. I wanted to see how far I could push this game up the list, with it being a game that, at least right now, I'm not going to play. And let me explain myself. I mean, if you look through the rest of these games up until this point, it's pretty easy, or it's something that seems very likely I'll be playing these games, whether it's day one or, shortly after. With Arkham Shadow, I continue to get more excited, and I say that genuinely. I don't say it for clicks or anything like that. No, I'm really excited for this game. Was it the right choice to do this? I don't really think it was, but ultimately, the developers, came to WB and pitched them this game. WB maybe didn't even have a plan, to do anything more with Arkham, and they were kind of just approached with this. So I'm not going to blame the developers on this. I also think the game looks really cool. We've heard all of the right things. Again, I want to see how high I could put this game, with it being a game I'm really excited to see, and maybe excited to see other people play. And I do want to cover it, the best I can on this channel. But ultimately, I don't have a Quest 3. I don't plan on getting a Quest 3 in the fall. I won't be playing it. It's just because of the console or the system, whatever you want to call it, that it's on. So, it's a game I'm really excited for. But I also feel like I've made peace with the fact that I'll cover it, I'll watch it, I'll participate in it as far as I can go. But ultimately, there will be a stopping point. Okay, number 23, and I've talked about this game a little bit before, but Sonic Cross Shadows Generation, whatever you want to call the X in it. The game looks awesome. The game looks really good, and I've long said Sonic, for whatever reason, is a franchise I've just never fully embraced. I grew up, even playing on the Wii. I played a lot of Sonic games on the Wii, but Sonic Unleashed, for whatever reason, is always the Sonic game that I can remember the most vividly. And it was an okay game. I don't think it was amazing, but it's always been a franchise I've wanted to pick up and just, start from the beginning. I've played some collections and some of the earlier games, but I've always just wanted to go straight through, beginning to end, all of these games, and really try to appreciate, what this franchise is, and never have really done it. And this is another game that it's not coming out in the greatest field. There's other games that are in direct competition with it the day it releases, or shortly before or shortly after. So it might be another casualty of when it releases, but this one, it does look so good. Every time a new Sonic game comes out, I say the same thing, yeah, I want to check out the franchise. I want to start here. I really want to make this one a reality. I really want to check this one out. We'll see what happens, but everything we've seen so far looks awesome. Okay, number 22 is Slither Head, and this is a game that looks rough around the edges. It does, and it's very hard to ignore it. But at the same time, I think the premise and I think the creativity are the things that I'm so excited for, and the things that I do think are going to shine through. Also, creator of Silent Hill, creator of Gravity Rush, goes over now again to make a new horror game. You got to give him a chance. You got to give the studio a chance, even though it's a new team. The idea of this game, kind of jumping from body to body and getting used to almost sacrificing human. They talked about some of the almost slitheriness. Slither Head's the name, but the uncomfortable feeling of sacrificing human beings, because that's part of the game. Always sounds interesting. Everything we've heard heard about it sounds interesting. Again, when you watch it, it's definitely rough around the edges, but I think it's really cool. Like, just what we've seen so far, it does look really cool. So I definitely want to give this game a chance, and also, again, the background. Like, Gravity Rush, I think, is freaking amazing. And I don't know if this game will be as good as a Gravity Rush, but I trust in the creative team here. Okay, number 21 is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. The game looks awesome. We've seen it a couple times in a couple different trailers, and I've said before, the first game I don't hate it. I don't hate the first game, but it was a game that really did frustrate me, and it's a game that just didn't connect. I thought the mechanics were, the mechanics I think worked for a lot of people, and the game was a big success. I don't know, maybe I wasn't ready for a game like that and the mechanics to be like that, but I'm number one, I'm willing to kind of almost give it a second try, and number two, they've talked about not dumbing it down, but the second game is going to be more accessible, way more than the first game was. So I feel like somebody like me who is kind of right there really wanted to give the first game a try, and I did. I played it, but I didn't get very far. I feel like this will be a game more up my alley, and everything else about it, you've seen. Love how the combat looks. The acting of it's really good. The setting of it, everything that we've heard about this game has been awesome. So I'm really excited for this game. Doesn't have a date yet. Definitely needs the date, but I'll be there day one, when it gets it. Okay, number 20, this one might actually kind of be weird, but you got to level with me. Super Mario Party Jamboree. And I felt this was a fine spot for it. Number 20, it's not too high, but it's definitely not low. I love Mario Party. I think Mario Party games kind of rock. I play them with my family. My daughter really likes playing them, and it's one of the rare games my wife will kind of jump in. And because I play a lot of Switch games, Kirby and Switch Sports and all that stuff, it'll be kind of me and my daughter, and then my wife will jump in for more of the Mario Party stuff. So I'm excited. Like, this is it's a family game. It's a franchise I do think is quite good. What we saw from the trailer looks quite good. Yeah, I don't really need to explain myself anything more than that. It's different. I might enjoy Kingdom Come or something below it more, but maybe not because maybe the family aspect of me laughing and kind of joking around, maybe that'll be good. Okay, number 19 is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Revenge. It's something we saw, I believe, at Summer Game Fest, and to put it simply, it looks incredible. It looks done. I don't know why there was no release date for it, but it is coming out in the fall. Scott Pilgrim, Shredder's Revenge vibes, right? These games, these modern beat 'em up kind of things, which were way more popular back in the day. It's making a comeback. Power Rangers, I think, is absolutely perfect for it. I love the art style. I love literally, it's short. It's a short trailer that we've seen, but it's short but sweet. I think this game is going to be, honestly, maybe one of the better games that is released this year. So I cannot freaking wait. Just needs a date. Okay, number 18 is Disney's Epic Mickey Rebrushed. I really like Epic Mickey. I thought it was a solid game. I played both of them back in the day, and I'm just excited for it to return. It's a good platformer. It's nothing outrageously amazing, but I feel like it's aged kind of well, at least in my mind it's aged well. I actually just bought it. I bought Epic Mickey on the Wii a few days ago to just have it physically. I don't know if I have a functioning Wii in the house, so I don't know if I can, maybe I can play it in other ways, but it's aged well in my mind, and I feel like it's going to do quite well. And I like the art style. I just like Mickey in general, platforming kind of thing, puzzle solving, using paint. I don't know. I liked it originally. I think I'm going to like it again. Okay, number 17 is the casting of Frank Stone. We might have gotten a release date, leaked. I made a video on it a few days ago, so it might come out in September. It might not, but, this is a game. Granted, Supermassive is so up and down, right? Now, I've talked about that 1,000 times. We're not a Supermassive channel, but, I sometimes get close. They're a team that I think is very capable of making some incredible games. I think even Dark Pictures, like House of Ashes, is an awesome game, a really great game. But for every great game, I think they have a really bad one. Like, I really did not like The Devil in Me. The Quarry was pretty darn good. That was kind of a separate team inside Supermassive, so they're kind of all over the place. Casting of Frank Stone looks good. It looks almost refreshing in the sense that I feel it's been enough time since the last Supermassive game where, like, maybe things have changed. It's a different team than made, I believe, The Devil in Me, so I do have high hopes for it. The premise is cool. Connecting it to Dead by Daylight is cool. I'm hopeful. I'm definitely hopeful. There's a chance it goes either way. It can be surprisingly awesome, or it can be, like, really, really bad. And I feel like either one is only the 50-50 at this point. Okay, number 16 is Lego Horizon Adventures. Had to put this actually quite high, and it's, again, we talk about the character arc that I have gone through over the last little while. It was announced. I thought it was actually leaked first. I thought it was a joke. joke. I didn't buy it. I didn't, not buy it in terms of like believability. I thought, okay, there's all these Horizon games coming. Do we really need a Lego one? And do we really need a Lego one that's kind of in the vein of, Forbidden West? But seeing it, getting closer and closer to it, I think it looks awesome. I think it's a breath of fresh air, even though, in some ways it's familiar, but I feel like the goofiness, the kiddiness of it, I feel like it's going to be really, really good for the franchise. A franchise that it takes itself seriously, and it should. That's, it's a point of the game, right? Heavy lore, heavy characters, heavy background, all that stuff. This is a game where I think they're going to let, Ashley Birch's Aloy kind of go off the leash and just kind of have fun with it. I think the game itself is going to be a lot of fun, different than, a different kind of fun, because I think the Horizon games are a lot of fun. So I'm really excited for this. And also coming out on Switch, coming out on PlayStation. Is it local co-op as well? So like being able to play with others. I think it's a great idea. So I'm really excited. As we get closer, this is a game that's risen up the rankings, and it could go even higher, honestly, by the time it comes out. Okay, number 15, and this is, by the way, we're in the area where things got actually pretty difficult to rank. I would say from like 19 to like in the 10s, or like even below 9, 8, 7. I'd say these games got a lot harder to rank. The top ones I knew in the bottom of my heart where those lie. But number 15 is Assassin's Creed Shadows, a game that, it's hard, and I've been, I think, honest with this. It's hard for me to get overly excited for an Assassin's Creed game recently. It's just, I've enjoyed them. I enjoyed Mirage. They actually gave me a code for that, what was it, last year, and I played through the entire thing, put in a good amount of hours, and liked it. I liked the game. I don't think I've loved an Assassin's Creed game in a long time. I think that's kind of where I come from. I liked Origins. I didn't play Valhalla or Odyssey. My wife did. And Mirage I also liked. But I wouldn't say I've loved the game since maybe, like Black Flag, like somewhere in that era. I've never played, I kind of dropped out of it. Didn't do Syndicate, didn't do Unity. Guess the point is, this game is another one where it looks cool. I like some of the things that they're saying. I like the idea of, say, going in like water, right, hiding from people, and then, but that's during like the summer. During the winter, that water will be ice. You're gonna have to approach it differently. Being able to play as either one of them, and completely different play styles, and how you would handle a mission is different depending on how you play. Finally doing Japan, something that people have asked for, including myself, for a long time. There's definitely good. I'm not saying the game is going to be bad at all, but it is hard, specifically for me, to just get too excited. I feel like this is a good spot for it, on the ranking. I'm going to play it day one. I will most likely enjoy it, and we'll just see kind of, will I really enjoy it? Will I not enjoy it a lot? We'll see where that kind of lands, when the game comes out. And coming actually back to back, I thought this was kind of poetry in motion here. Number 14 is Star Wars Outlaws. Felt good again with this one as well. I think, and the reason, by the way, Star Wars Outlaws is higher than Assassin's Creed is, although, we just talked about Assassin's Creed, Star Wars Outlaws is like, this is something that is definitely new. Yeah, Assassin's Creed Japan and all, and everything we just talked about, but this has the potential to be far worse than Assassin's Creed Shadows, but also has the potential, I think, to surprise more than Shadows possibly can. Does that make sense? I really feel that's kind of the situation, and so I kind of am betting on the hopes of Star Wars Outlaws. That's why it's a little bit higher. The game has looked solid. It's a game that's going to have to come together and really be special when it does come together, and there's no guarantee, but I have liked what we have seen. I wouldn't say I've loved everything that we've seen, or loved almost anything. I think there's a couple things I really like, the factions and recruiting people, and if you betray one or whatever, like you kind of lock them out of certain things, and there's a star rating where you'll get hunted by the Empire. There's some really cool things that are going to happen in this game. I feel like it's probably going to be a pretty good game. I feel that's kind of maybe like the average of it. We'll see though, because I think it's high reward, high risk. It could go really either way. Okay, number 13 is Black Myth Wukong. I was debating where to put this one because I feel good about it. And, there was the previews that came out around Summer Game Fest time, and it was talked a lot about, like, Stellar Blade almost. Like, the gameplay style is more Stellar Blade than FromSoft, and Stellar Blade was kind of talked that it's more like this than it is like that. I loved the combat of Stellar Blade. So you give me the lore and the background of, Black Myth Wukong, with what we've seen so far, which has always looked good. And I've said this before, I do get just a little worried where I almost feel like Black Myth Wukong is literally a myth. Like, I don't fully believe the game is like, I don't even know how to explain. Does that make sense? I mean, I haven't really said anything. I feel like the game is maybe not even fully a game. Like, there could be holes, but maybe people felt the same thing for Stellar Blade. You know, I gave Stellar Blade a huge chance. I always kind of believed in it, and it paid off. It's I think my third favorite game of the year. So I think I got to do that with Black Myth. I kind of got to give it to him. And although there's a part of me that thinks, is this game almost actually real? Like, is it going to come out and actually be like a 10, 15, 20-hour game? Is it going to have as many bosses as they say? Maybe just give it, at least for now, give it to them, and let's see, what it turns out to be. Even if the combat is good and nothing else is, it might still be a solid game because combat for these type of games is absolutely king, and we've seen the combat, and it looks really, really good. So I do have high hopes, very high, and this could be one of the better games of the year, depending on how it goes. Okay, number 12 is the Until Dawn remake. This is one of my favorite games of all time. You might say, Alex, this is way too high for a game that doesn't really look, and it's true. The game does look better. Like, if you put them side by side, which people have, right? You put it side by side, a game that is 9 years old this year, turning 10 next August. This game does look noticeably better, and I think this is our path to getting more, because this is a new team that was kind of formed from developers of Supermassive. Sony, I don't know if either Sony owns them or if Sony is in like collaboration with them. I think this is how you get either an Until Dawn 2 or just almost like a Sony studio or a PlayStation studio that makes horror games like this, which I am all if anything, support the game so you can get that, right? But no, Until Dawn is one of my favorite games of all time, one of the best horror games I think ever made, and to just see it again and to see it update, I think this will be the best version, although I'm still curious how they're going to do the light thing, where, you have to hold still, which, a lot of people cheated on, including myself. You just put the controller down, right, with that, but, the light is different now with the PS4 versus the PS5. Don't know how that one's going to work, but beyond that, it's nearly a perfect game in my opinion. It's a game that I love. There's very little you can do to mess that up. So I felt it's high, but it's also not like number 1 or 2. I don't think that's really fair for a game, that's a remake remaster. So I put it here. Okay, number 11, I put Avowed. I've been high on this game, and I feel like public opinion has gone back and forth, right? Like, sometimes people are really excited for it. Sometimes people are really like anti-Avowed. I never connected with the Outer Worlds, so this is another one where, like, recent history hasn't been all that kind, but Fallout New Vegas, right? And Obsidian, just in general, I do think are very talented. I'm going to try the Outer Worlds again before this game comes out, or at least I plan to. I'm going to try. So yeah, I'm excited for this game. I like the look. I like the combat. I like a lot of the things that they're doing. The game overall just looks, and I feel like, a lot of these games in this range, I've talked about kind of, well, it can go this way or it can go that way. This game I feel pretty safe and pretty confident saying this is going to be a pretty darn good game. Is there a little range there? Yeah, but I don't think there's as much range with Avowed as there is, say, Star Wars or Assassin's Creed, where things can go bad, I think, kind of quickly. I don't think that could happen with Avowed, or at least I don't think so. All right, we've made it to the top 10, and number 10 is Lost Records Bloom and Rage, a game made by Don't Nod, a game made at a studio that was formed that's a lot of the OGs from Life is Strange 1 and 2. Here's the thing. This is one that is such high risk, high reward, right? Because Life is Strange 1 is maybe a top 10 game of mine all time. Love it so much. Life is Strange 2 I hated. Life is Strange 2 I think is a very bad game. That's been my opinion since day one. I know it kind of goes back and forth, and it is controversial, I think, to say Life is Strange 2 is a bad game, but the point being, Don't Nod, not even just that team, but Don't Nod in general, are capable of making some of the greatest things of all time. They're also capable of making not great things. And they've made average things. Tell me why. I thought it was a solid game. Twin Mirror, I thought was a solid game, maybe slightly below. Jasant, which was the rock climbing game that came out last year, I actually really liked. I think that was their best game, maybe since the first Life is Strange game. So they're capable. And this game is very much a spiritual successor, right, to Life is Strange. It's very much almost the same thing. And I'm very excited for it. But again, this is one that I could see this being like a top 5 game for me at the end of the year, where I say they freaking killed it. I love the cast. I love the premise is cool, but I love the cast. I love the story, all that stuff. Or I say, yep, this is a mediocre game. It's a middle of the road thing. It can go either way, but this is very high reward kind of territory. Okay, number 9 is Harry Potter Quidditch Champions, a game I'm very high on, as you can tell. A game that I do think is actually going to be extremely, extremely good. I genuinely believe that. I'm excited to see more gameplay. I'm excited to be able to maybe talk a little bit about the times that some some people were able to play the game early. I'm very excited to say more about this game, but what I will say for right now, I think this game has enormous potential, and I think at the end of the day, and because I know, there's been worrisome signs from people about the visuals or about, mobile kind of thing, or about, not having Quidditch in Hogwarts Legacy, right? I think this game is going to do well. I think this game has the gameplay thing, or will have the gameplay thing locked down tight. So I'm very high on it. I'm not going to move off that position. I feel like more people will come around as we get closer. Okay, number 8 is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. This is another high risk, high reward type thing. I think the risk comes from, the risk maybe from just the franchise in general, the IP, but also the risk, the first person thing. It definitely is going to be not just a learning curve, but it's either going to work or not work. Like, we're either going to get used to it and say, yeah, we can accept this as like a fundamental gaming part to this game, or you say, yeah, it's not really working for what they're trying to do. But from what we've seen so far, I think they've captured the Indiana Jones feel, in terms of, like, literally the feel of it has that funniness to it. It's got the characters. It's got the heart to it, right? Like, it's captured quite a bit in just the cinematics so far. And the gameplay, it's looked solid. And I've even said before, like, I'm going to give the first-person thing a chance. I think it's possible that it can work. I think the team, obviously, is extremely talented. So this is one that, yeah, it could come out and be a Game of the Year contender if everything comes together for it. All right, number 7 is Silent Hill 2 Remake. This is one that I kind of had to put just because of my general excitement, not because of my, like, massive belief in it. This is one that, we keep, again, talking about risk and reward. I feel like they can do it, and I feel like I've been very, generous to them. I feel like I've definitely been on the more positive side of Bloober Team specifically for this game versus the internet. I think the internet has been pretty hard, not in a negative, like, you can be hard on them, right? They haven't really done much recently to have that much belief in the development team, but I will stand on, or still stand on, every time we've seen this game, I think it's looked better. I really do. I think it's looked better and better and better. Does it look amazing? No. But Silent Hill 2, and this is where I also come from, Silent Hill 2 is a really good game. Like, one of the best horror games in existence, one of the best games in existence. We've seen multiple iterations of people try to do, the remastered port that didn't really work, and a lot of other different ways of playing Silent Hill 2. And, some of them have captured, I guess, better than others. This is a chance to truly get it. Now, if you change things, if you radically change things, you're going to make, which you could argue they've already done, but you're going to make people, I think, extremely, extremely mad. So, I don't know. I'm going based off of, I think it's looked better each time. I have, hopes that they can do it. I also think you're enhancing what is already, like, nearly a perfect game, right? So in terms of why it's so high on the list, well, Silent Hill 2 is an amazing game. Just don't mess with it all that much, and you'll still have an amazing game. All right, number 6, and you talk about high risk, high reward. This is probably number 1 on the entire list in general, but number 6, Dragon Age: The Veilguard. I feel really good putting it here because of that. If they nail it, and I said that, we made a Dragon Age, I think, specific video on the channel. I said the same thing. If they nail it, it's going to be a Game of the Year contender because the cast, the gameplay, if it holds together and if it's fun, which it does look fun, the gameplay, I think, can be a very fun time, or will be. And the characters, if they all come together, if the story, if it all comes together, if that Dragon Age feel just comes back, I think it's going to be a really excellent game. And I don't even think that's all that controversial. You know what I mean? Like, it's always had the potential. It has the potential right now. If it delivers, it's going to be a Game of the Year type game. If it doesn't deliver, people are going to be furious. And I'm here for both. I don't want that second one because ultimately, like, BioWare, like, the future of BioWare rests on this game too. I really believe. Like, if this game gets torched, if this game sells terribly, I think BioWare is done. I actually firmly believe they will be done and there will be no Mass Effect. And I'm not saying, like, that's, you have to support it. You support what you want. You support it if you like what the game looks like, or if you don't, you go that way. Not saying, you have to, but I do think, like, the future of BioWare kind of rests. And maybe that's good, hopefully, because that means, well, hopefully they've put in a lot of work and that the game is going to be really good. All right, number 5 is the Metal Gear Solid Delta, Metal Gear Solid 3 Remake. I put this higher than Silent Hill 2, to be flat out honest, because I think this is just going to be a better remake. And you think about the original Metal Gear 3, phenomenal game. This is another one, right? So, like, Silent Hill and Metal Gear are very similar in the sense that you're remaking an amazing, like, an elite game. For Metal Gear, you look at the trailer that they've shown, you look at, the interviews, and And not saying like it's not there for Silent Hill, but if you're just looking at Metal Gear, there is a lot of respect and I think like carefulness, if that's even a word, where they know like they almost shouldn't even be doing this, and they want us to judge them if they're doing it right or wrong. And everything we've seen about it just looks so good, and it definitely, and they've stressed very much keeping it 1-to-1. You look at the original, you look at this, it's going to be the same. It's just going to be, you have the different camera angles. Now, you have Snake getting injured, and that injury will carry forward through the rest of the game. Smaller, but, more like realistic type things like that. The visuals, holy dear God, the game looks so good. I have a lot of faith in this one. If I believe that one of these two games is going to do the remake better, it's Metal Gear. So and this game is not guaranteed to be 2024. Like they keep saying 2024. The only thing holding it back, maybe for being higher on my list, is I don't really fully believe it's even coming out this year. But if it does, it's a Game of the Year contender. All right, number 4, and this kind of got hard. I'd say number 4 and number 3, but number 4, I'm putting Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, a game that you can't even say enough good about it. And actually, everything that you can say has already been said. The game looks unbelievable. And I know I exaggerate, and I know I say like some of these keywords a lot with all these games. Every time you see a trailer for Dragon Ball, it looks like the greatest thing you've ever seen. And I actually say that without exaggerating. I mentioned the colors before, like in previous videos. The colors of this game just pop, and the combat of it is just so good, and the attention to detail and everything. The game looks unreal. And as a Budokai fan, Tenkaichi fan, growing up, it is amazing that we're even getting this game. I truly believe that. And not just getting a game, but like this is what we thought those games were, right? Like you watch them go into Super Saiyan and all that stuff in, say, Budokai 1, I think 2002 or something, right? And this, as like a kid, is what you see. Now you see this where rocks are exploding and trees are getting, like the attention to detail and everything reacting. And again, the attention to detail on each character. This is what I think we saw in the originals, and they weren't even able to do it. Now they can. And I mean, you could keep going, but I think it's going to be an amazing game. Okay, number 3, I'm going to go with Metaphor. This is a game that actually comes out the same day as Dragon Ball, so I felt that this had to, they're kind of intertwined, right? Like Destiny's intertwined here. This game I'm so excited for. I think this is a chance for Atlas to not entirely branch out, but to do something a little bit different. Persona, it is kind of locked in a certain thing. This will also be locked in a certain thing, but like they'll have more room to move, specifically, I guess, with the cast and with the story. And that's, Personas are amazing, right? And I think this game can be amazing. And that's really where I come from. The cast of this, I'm really expecting like a legendary cast. Now, that's high expectation, but they do it every time. You even go to games like Catherine, and like the characters are always phenomenal. Always. There's tiers, right? Like maybe some people like the cast of Persona 3 or 4 more than 5. I like 5, right? But, every cast is incredible. So I'm expecting a killer cast. I'm expecting the same great combat that we've gotten. Some tweaks here and there to enhance it and to make it even better. The story, all that stuff. Just the looks of it. Oh my dear God. Now, I'm really excited. This, I really believe, can be Game of the Year. It's tough with this coming out same day as Dragon Ball. I'm going to have to balance that on my gaming schedule, but I'll figure it out. Number 2 is Astrobot. This was a tough one. Astrobot, looks so unbelievably good, but you can tell the game that's actually number 1. Astro looks so good, and Astro's Playroom, incredible game. By the way, one of the best PS5 games out there, truly. And I think Astrobot's just going to do everything right. Looks so good. The platforming elements, the respect to PlayStation. This game is the game, or one of the types of games that I've been asking for PlayStation to kind of venture into, more often. We're finally getting it. I think the support has got to be there to show PlayStation that, yes, these are some of the games that we want. We don't need every game to be a platformer, just like we don't need every game to be open world, but this is a chance to prove a point. And number 1, Life is Strange Double Exposure. It's my most anticipated, right? So it's like, I don't know. I mentioned Dragon Age, high risk, high reward, maybe being the number 1. This one too. Life is Strange, like I said a couple times even in this video, even when we weren't talking about Life is Strange is one of my favorite games, period, right? And they're bringing back Max. They're going back to the core of, Life is Strange 1, one of my favorite games. The chance to be good is there. The chance to be another game of the generation or game of my life is there. The chance to ruin it all is also there. And I get very worried, not because I necessarily don't trust them. I think they've done a good job, and I hope that they will do a good job. But that is there. You know, you're bringing back one of my favorite characters ever. You're bringing back the era of, one of my favorite games ever. You can easily destroy that, but you could easily enhance it and keep going, right? So maybe not easily. That one's maybe actually harder. That's the risk you get for bringing this back, right? High risk, high reward. You're getting people on nostalgia. You're getting people like me, but you also have all eyes on you, and you can't mess it up. And that's asking a lot, or that's demanding a lot, and I don't feel bad about it because they know what they're getting themselves into. So I cannot freaking wait to experience this game. I mean, this is a game that I've been asking for no joke, probably like 8 or so years. Life is Strange comes out, finishes around maybe 9 years ago from now, so maybe a year after I started petitioning for it. This is like Sly 5 and a Life is Strange game starring Max are like those, and maybe like a Scream video game. Those were the games that I've been petitioning for as long as I can remember. We literally are getting one of those. So it's not just my most anticipated game of the fall. Life is Strange Double Exposure is my most anticipated game, period. Beyond GTA, beyond Wonder Woman, this is the game. And hopefully people can understand that. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on. I hope to see you all on the next one.